In today's video, I'm going to show you how I crafted a mini vintage TV lantern inspired by the Silver Shamrock commercial from the movie Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Welcome, my pretties, to the Awfully Sweet channel.
To make this project, I'm working with a drawer organizer that I found at my local Dollarama for $5. I love that it has 4 metal legs. I remove the drawer and the sticker at the back. I separate the back and the sides of the drawer by hand. It's actually pretty easy to do. I use the remaining part by placing it upside down on the organizer. On the back, I measure 6 inches at the bottom and at the top to draw a straight line. I measure the section on the right and trace the measurements on the back of the drawer that I removed earlier. It's about 3 inches by 4 3/4 of an inch. I cut the piece with an Exacto knife and a ruler by passing over the lines many times. Once I cut most of it, I just bend the piece and remove the excess. I make sure it fits on my organizer and glue it in place with a good amount of wood glue. To make the speaker, I remove the pointy ends of toothpicks with pliers. I then glue them close together with wood glue at the bottom of the right section. To mimic the 2 television knobs for the channel selector and volume control, I'm tracing and cutting 2 circles on a foam sheet. I also trace and cut 4 smaller circles. I drew this bar shape on a piece of paper and turn it into 6 foam pieces. I'm using Podge to glue everything together. I start with the largest circles that I glue above the speaker. I glue 2 smaller circles on top of each large circle. I finish the knobs by gluing 3 layers of the bar-shaped pieces on top of the smaller circles. I put them at a different angle. The one at the top is more vertical and the second one is almost horizontal. For the TV screen, I measure 1/2 inch all around the left section to draw a frame. I remove the middle section by cutting the lines with a ruler and an Exacto knife. I previously drilled the 4 corners with a drill. I remove the excess all around the opening with the Exacto knife. I measure the size of the left section and draw it on a piece of foam sheet. It's about 6 inches by 4 3/4 of an inch. I make sure it fits on my organizer and draw a frame just a little bit larger than 1/2 inch. I also draw round corners and remove the middle. I repeat the same process twice with the frame measuring exactly 1/2 inch, so just a little smaller than the first one. I glue the frames in place with a good amount of Mod Podge. I start with the bigger frame first and glue the smaller ones on top. I'm using a wood filler to remove all the gaps between the pieces I just glued together. I let it dry and remove the excess with a piece of sandpaper. I then remove the dust with a paintbrush. To create the TV antenna, I use a styrofoam ball that I cut in half with a kitchen knife and a cutting mat. I'm using a Versa tool to make small holes. I set the temperature between the yellow and orange settings. When it's hot, I gently poke holes where I want my antenna rods to be. To make my rods, I'm using a wood dowel rod that I cut in half with pliers. I place them inside of my styrofoam piece where I previously made the holes. I make sure that they are approximately the same height. I'm adding plastic beads at the top to make them look more realistic. I glue them in place with a good amount of Mod Podge. I add a drop of glue in the middle of the beads once they are on the rods for extra support. I trace a large circle on a piece of foam by contouring a can of spray paint. I cut the shape with scissors and draw 2 more circles with a smaller bottle. I cut the shapes and glue the smaller circles on top of the bigger one with Mod Podge. I then glue the large circle on my piece of drawer a little bit to the right. I then glue my piece of styrofoam on top. I cover the entire piece with 2 coats of gesso. I'm painting a frame freehand around the TV screen with a silver acrylic paint. I'm also painting the largest circle for the knobs. I do 2 or 3 coats of paint. I mix a small amount of black acrylic paint with the silver and paint the rest of the knobs with 2 coats. Using the color Territorial Beige, I'm painting a rectangle with round edges around the 2 knobs. I do at least 2 coats before adding some yellow and white to paint a bigger rectangle around the knobs that includes the speaker. I keep the corners round and I do at least 2 coats. I do 3 coats with the color Burnt Umber on the remaining parts of the TV. I also pass between each toothpick to give the speaker more dimension. I do some touch-ups with the previous beige color. I then paint the top, sides, and back of the TV. I also paint the drawer part with the antenna. Once the top is dry, I also paint under the TV and around the legs. I do 2 coats of white paint on the inside to make sure that the light that I will add later on will shine bright. I'm painting the rods and plastic beads with 3 coats of silver paint. I add some black to the silver and paint the piece of styrofoam and the foam base. Once it's dry, I paint the inside of the drawer with 3 coats of burnt umber. With a tiny brush and black paint, I'm painting black lines on each corner on the front of the TV. I also add lines around the 2 knobs. I'm mixing the silver paint with some white paint to create some light reflection on the silver frame of my TV screen. I come back with the silver paint to blend it better. I also do the 4 small corners and the 2 knobs. Using a color slightly darker than Territorial Beige, I'm adding some texture with a saw-shaped paintbrush. I do the same thing around and on the speaker with a lighter color. I also try to make a wood texture by mixing the color Melted Chocolate with some black. To do this, I freehand some curvy lines. Some lines are very thick, while some lines are very thin. I match the designs on the sides with the top. I add some texture around the antenna as well. I come back with the color Burnt Umber to blend the texture. Once everything is dry, I do 2 coats of Varathane wood finish. I use a large brush to get a uniform look. I switch to a smaller brush to cover the small details on the front and back of the TV, as well as the TV antenna. I'm using an orange transparent vellum paper to print the design that I drew for my TV lantern. I cut the image and use a clear stencil sheet for my TV screen. I flip the design and tape it on the stencil with Scotch tape. I cut the stencil and glue it to the opening with Mod Podge. I add more Scotch tape to the sides for extra support. I remove the paint from the legs with a plastic sculpting tool and a paintbrush. I then clean the legs with a Lysol wipe. I'm adding a puck light to my vintage TV lantern. I place a sticker on the back and make sure to glue it behind the screen, centered in the middle. I lift the drawer part and permanently place the light. I put the antenna back in place and my pumpkin is now hauntingly glowing, captivating my soul. The last step I want to do is glue one of the rods with hot glue. The other one is already stuck in place somehow.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
And this completes the mini vintage TV lantern inspired by the Silver Shamrock commercial. I hope that you liked this tutorial and that you feel inspired to make your own. If you made it this far and enjoy Halloween DIYs, please be sweet and leave me a little treat by clicking on my pumpkin pail to subscribe to the Awfully Sweet channel. Don't forget to hit the bell notification to know when a new video comes up. There is always enough room on my broom for another crafty ghoul. Thank you for hanging out with me. Have a fabulous day. Bye.